You know, despite being on the bottom of the food chain in the Alien vs Predator games, I always liked playing as the Colonial Marine. I always liked the idea of taking on aliens and predators with a pulse rifle. Truth be told, if that scenario was real, I'd probably be more likely this fucking guy. But yeah, that's why I loved the Alien vs Predator games. And Rebellion, who had 3 forays into the franchise, had done some absolute fucking crackers. My favourite being their release in 1999, also re-released as AvP Gold in 2000. That game put the shits up me as a kid. I remember playing that on my old Information Age PC and thought it was fucking wicked. And while AvP 2 from Monolith was the superior game, I never enjoyed it as much. It still was an awesome fucking game to play, but I felt the character and creature designs were a bit too stylized and weren't as scary as that first game that I originally played. So where does Rebellion's return to the AvP franchise in 2010 stack up against these two? Well, pretty fucking high. This is one of my favourite games for the Xbox 360, and I think it's a perfect time during Alien Day to take a deep dive look at this excellent fucking game. The story itself is set on a recently colonised planet by Weyland-Yutani, BG-386, and incorporates elements from the AvP movies. Now, before you go up in fucking arms, they actually utilise these in a much better way than those fucking movies ever did, with the use of predator pyramids and Charles Bishop Weyland's ancestor Carl Bishop Weyland being at the forefront of this story, and it really fucking works. Obviously, like prior installments, you're given control of 3 distinctive species: the human colonial marine, the xenomorph warrior, and the Yautja hunter. And all these are very distinctive in their play styles, like prior iterations of this franchise. The Marine you play as is a recent addition to his USCM unit, nicknamed the Rookie by his Sergeant Tequila. And his mission is simple: survive BG-386 and get the fuck out of this dustball without being made a trophy by the predators or a host by the xenomorphs. And yeah, that's going to be a pretty hard fucking mission, because you're taking on the fucking lion's share of foes in this game, from combat androids to lethal Yautja to an entire hive of xenomorph. You're going to be hunted from start to finish. And yeah, like prior iterations of this game, this is the most FPS of the 3 species you will play. The Marine has no special abilities, his only saving grace is his firearms, and unfortunately, unlike prior entries, he doesn't get that many firearms, but what he does get are pretty fucking solid. The first of these is actually an unlimited automatic pistol, and despite what you might think, this is actually a solid fucking gun. You can take out standard xenomorphs with this fairly easily. You wouldn't want to rely on it, but its 3-round burst auto fire does significant damage and will keep the xenos off your tail. Next up is an absolute classic, the workhorse of the USCM, the pulse rifle. And yeah, if you're not using its 10mm caseless to shred xenomorph bastards, then its underslung grenade launcher will most certainly make them rethink their lifestyle choices, while also dealing great damage to tankier enemies such as Praetorians and Predators. This gun is fucking essential, and you will be using it from start to finish. Next up we have the double barrel pump action shotgun, and I like to think that this is a precursor to Vreese's shotgun from Alien Resurrection. This game takes place between those movies, some few decades after Alien 3 and about a century before Resurrection, and yeah, like Vreese's shotgun, this thing does wicked fucking damage, and the type of gun you want to have handy for those close encounters. The next weapon is a staple of the Alien franchise, and it is the flamethrower. Now, this is probably the weakest of the weapons you can get, but it does have some interesting features. The alt fire allows you to fire a stream of napalm to either create a wall of fire or douse your enemies with the napalm and then ignite them. Again, I mainly used it on eggs and facehuggers, but it's something you probably won't be using as often as you might think. Strangely enough, the next weapon is one I never thought I'd utilise as a Marine in an Alien vs Predator game, and that is a sniper rifle, but this thing is really fucking good. First off, The scope lets you see those hard to see facehuggers, but it also can see cloaked enemies such as predators and combat synthetics. And secondly, you can mainly one-shot most enemies with this rifle. It is that badass and one of my favourite new additions to the Colonial Marines arsenal. And last but not least, that giant fucking gun mounted on a camera harness. It is the Smart Gun. This thing you won't get much, but when you do get it, oh by Christ, you will love letting loose. This can shred xenomorphs like confetti and can take down bigger enemies with the click of a fucking finger. It is that good. So when you get the Smart Gun, you utilise it because you don't get it that often. So yeah, that's the Marine's arsenal. He also gets some flares and a flashlight that's about as much use as tits in a fish. And yeah, he's going to need them because throughout this game, he is hunted by some of the most lethal species in the universe. Speaking of, let's check out our next playable character, the Xenomorph. Yes, the Xenomorph, aka number 6, was captured by Doc Groves, the head scientist under Carl Bishop Wayland. And this is the creature that starts the entire fucking plot. In its escape, it releases a Xenomorph queen and causes the fall of the BG-386 colony. And yeah, you are going to be using stealth a whole fucking lot in order to survive because everyone else has guns and they outnumber you 1,000,000 to 1. But fear not, because if you can utilize your stealth, you can do some savagely vicious fucking takedowns, truly worthy of the perfect organism, utilizing your own bioweapons. From your talons to your tail to your inner jaw, you can eviscerate a marine in 2 seconds flat. And if you can pull off a stealth kill, oh by god, you're in for a treat. The same goes for the Predator when it comes to stealth kills, but I'll get to that chap later. But yeah, the Xenomorph requires a hell of a lot of stealth, but if you master it, you're really going to enjoy playing the Xeno. And lastly, the universe's great big game hunter, the killers himself, the Yautja Warrior, aka Dark. Now Dark is here to investigate why someone is fucking around with the Predator temples and what happened to 3 Predator trainees. And yeah, he is here to clean fucking house, and by Christ he does it. Unfortunately, just like the Marine, unlike the other games, his arsenal is very limited, but just like the Marine as well, what he gets the fucking job done. First off is the iconic weapon by this intergalactic headhunter, the wrist blades. Now he has 2 wrist blades on both arms, and they can be used to do a melee attack, and as I said before, if you can instigate it, you can get yourself a really cool stealth kill. And yeah, they're badass, and they can be used to block Xenomorph attacks also, which is a bit sus, but I still think they're cool, and they're an iconic weapon of the Predator, obviously. Next is another iconic weapon from his arsenal, and that is the Plasma Caster. And yes, like the prior AvP FPS games, this has to be charged intermittently and runs off the same battery as your cloak. So the best case is to use this sparingly and save it for maybe bosses or tankier enemies. And surprisingly, while it is an iconic Predator weapon, I found myself using it not as much as I thought. It is good, but there are far better weapons in the Predator's arsenal. Speaking of, next up we have the Smart Disc, and I'm glad this game went back to the old Smart Disc design from Predator 2. I absolutely hated the fucking shurikens, but in this game they go back to the old chunky disc, and by fuck it doesn't disappoint. I love using this, especially when you figure out you can ricochet off walls and ceilings to bisect enemies. It is so satisfying to use and one of my favourite weapons in this game. A new addition to the Predator's arsenal, at least in the FPS game, are mines. Now these seem to be the same design from AvPR and even Predator Concrete Jungle. And yeah, you can charge these bad boys up and throw them down to any surface, and they will explode enemies in a shower of gore. If you combine these with your mimicking ability, you can lure unsuspecting marines into a fiery death. And yes, while they do use some of your battery, they are well worth it for making a fucking perfect ambush weapon. And the last addition to his arsenal is another iconic weapon from Predator 2. It is the Combi Stick. Now this thing can essentially one-shot kill any fucking enemy bar bosses, and it's pretty badass, although I do find one thing funny. Unlike the prior games, instead of going to retrieve your spear, you just end up pulling another one out of your fucking arse, and I'm like, how many fucking combi sticks does this Predator have? Again, it's pretty cool. They do force you to have a cooldown period between throwing each spear. But yeah, this thing is super OP, and when you do get it, it's in the latter part of the game, which I do understand. But yeah, the spear is absolutely devastating to any standard enemy and can most certainly help you whittle down a boss's life. As well as its badass arsenal, the Predator has its usual bag of tricks, from its iconic cloak, which uses a shit ton of battery, so you're going to be recharging like a motherfucker, to a mimicry ability, which we never got in the prior games and I really enjoyed utilising in order to set up ambush points for unsuspecting colonial marines. This thing was pretty fucking cool. Also, you've got the iconic vision modes, from thermal vision to xenomorph vision, which you will most certainly fucking need in the latter part of the game in some of the darker levels. But yeah, the Predator is pretty fucking kick-arse in this game, which is no surprise. Level design is varied enough that you won't get bored. Not as expansive as, say, prior games, but yeah, it is interesting. There is some diverse locations, from the installations inside in the colony, to old Predator temples, to underground chasms, to swamp-filled jungles. The locations are interesting enough to keep your attention, and obviously because all three campaigns are set in the same location, they do reuse prior levels, and they did that in the original games as well. But I think the original games weren't as linear as, say, the levels in this one. Story-wise, it's solid. It's not fucking magnificent, but it is up there with the ilk of, say, a classic Dark Horse AvP comic, and the voice cast most certainly helps that. You have the ever incomparable Lance Henriksen returning as Carl Bishop Wayland, an ancestor to Charles Bishop Wayland. And yes, as I said before, they bring in elements from the AvP movies, but they actually do something decent with them. Speaking of voice cast members, another Alien alum turns up in this game. William Hope, who played Gorman, voices Doc Groves, and this wouldn't be the last voice he'd provide for a character in an Alien video game. He'd later go on to voice Marshall Waits in the excellent Alien Isolation a few years later. One element that people always remember about this game is the stealth kills. These were incredibly gory. They're one of my favourite elements from this game, and sure, they're more of an interactive cinematic, but they're gory as fuck. So much so that the Australian release of this game had them removed. That's how fucking mental they are. So yeah guys, while I do think AvP 2010 is an excellent game, I still think it lags a wee bit behind with, say, the likes of AvP Gold or even Monolith's AvP 2. But that said, there's still a lot to offer here, there's still a lot to enjoy here, and if you got a special edition, you got some extra stuff, and I'll show you what you would have gotten. So yeah, this is my copy of AvP 2010 for the 360, and this is the Hunter's Edition. I love the box, I love the Weyland-Yutani logo, and I love the reflective images on the side and back here. And what it has is Survivor Steelbook Edition with exclusive map pack, replica facehugger, 3D lenticular postcard, Weyland logo material sleeve badge. And let's crack it open and see what's inside. And yeah, oh, it appears the facehugger's gone missing. I'm sure he'll turn up. So yeah, here is the lenticular postcard. It's pretty cool. You have a Predator, a Colonial Marine, I think that's the rookie, and a Xenomorph. And there is the Weyland-Yutani badge for your jacket or your shirt or whatever you want to put it on. And here is the steelbook. I really like the steelbook as well. It's pretty cool. Flip it to the back there. Exclusive map pack includes 4 all-new multiplayer online arenas. And the cool thing is, if you prefer the Predator to the Xenomorph, you can just switch it out and put it in and have the Predator as the cover. But yeah guys, all in all, I do like AvP 2010. I don't think it fucking breaks the mold when it comes to the franchise. I do think it does some interesting things, with the franchise, and it certainly elevates the lesser desirable aspects, particularly the AvP movies, with its storyline. But let me know, what do you think? Do you think AvP 2010 is better than its predecessors? And which of the AvP FPS games is your favorite? Let me know in the comments below. My name's Martin, this has been the Trash Picture Show, and yeah, have a good one, take care, bye now.
1 hour later.
So that's for this fucking little ball of